Okay, folks, what I want to be showing you today is a method of putting slip onto pots. This particular pot is thrown with a red clay, and by taking the porcelain slip and putting it on top of it, then later after it sets up a little bit, we'll be able to come back and cut through both of the clay colors so that we'll have the white clay in some areas and the dark clay where we've cut through, which would be a technique called Sgraffito. So I have my slip right down here, and we shall begin. Now I recommend that when you do this that you try to get the slip on as soon after you've thrown the pot and have gotten it trimmed as you possibly can. If you wait a little too long, you can have problems with it being too dry. The first clay, being the red clay, would be too dry and it wouldn't want to receive the porcelain as well. Now you have to be careful if you get them on a little too much at one time, you can get runs. Most people don't want that. So what you have to do is you have to put a layer on just like I've done now and let it sit for a couple minutes, then come back, put another layer on, and then let it sit for a couple hours after you've got it finished, and then you can cut into it. If you try to cut into it a little too soon, sometimes the clays will kind of get gooey and it won't get nice clean cuts. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit more down at the bottom here. Hope it's not too much all at one shot. Watching for runs, I can stop them simply by putting the brush up against it, but gotta be real careful. Okay, we'll stop now, and then we'll come back after a while after I put a couple more coats on here, and then I'll show you how to cut it off. Okay, now we've let this dry out for a while, and it is kind of important to let it dry for a certain amount of time. If you were going to put your coats on as soon as it starts to kind of look like it's dry, and you start carving with your tool, what can happen is when you carve a piece up here, it can fall and then stick to another section here, lower down, and then once it's stuck, it'll pull off some of the surface clay, the white surface clay, and then we kind of lose it. So what I'm going to show you now is just the simple technique. There are all kinds of tools that you could carve into this with. You could come into it with a fork and kind of come down with the teeth of the fork. You could come into it with a comb, with a little a wide tooth comb. You can come into them with these trimming tools, and you can even come in on an angle with this needle, and I'm going to do that on this particular one just so you can see two different ways of playing around with this stuff. Okay, right now I'm going to get this going. And what I'm going to show you now is kind of a funny kind of form of Sgraffito where you come in with a needle on an angle like this, and it just kind of tears up the surface here, but a lot of people like that, and gives it kind of a interesting effect. Not trying for any kind of real tight geometric solution to it, but it gives it kind of a textured surface. That's what it really does. Now, when I look at that, I try to visualize where I'm satisfying it with it just the way it is. I think I'm going to put a kind of a deeper cut with my other tool here, and get it to work a little bit more with the top of the pot up here, which is red. I think it just needs a little bit more red in this area here. And I think I'm going to put another one right above it, right up here. Okay, I'm going to put another ring right down in this area here. I just have a feeling I need one. Okay, I'm going to show you one more technique that you can use with this type of form. And this is a little bit more radical. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to now blow this form out a little bit, hopefully if the clay isn't too dry. We'll see here in a second. And sometimes you can get kind of like a earthquake effect if the clay is dry enough and not too dry. By that I mean the clay kind of cracks in it. So I'm going to clean this section up a little bit. Affects my hand as I try to open this up a little bit more. Now, one problem with this particular technique is it could cause a little bit of cracking on the slip later on, falling off and firing. But that's one of the chances you take. Okay, I gotta do that once more down towards the bottom. And I'm going to try it once more. It's a little touchy when you're doing this. It can get away from you altogether. Okay, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but right into this area here, there's little tiny cracks in the walls. And I think in order to make them get it accentuated a little bit more, I'm going to have to let the piece dry a little bit more and then do it one more time, and hopefully the cracks will get a little bit bigger, so that in a raku firing, especially this particular pot, would have this crackle effect along in here that would be just clay body changes, so that it would have a different color right in that area if you can get the cracks to open up a little bit more. Anyway, this is techniques on Sgraffito. I'm going to press out a little bit from the inside here. It'll change the shape of it, but I want to open up some of these areas a little bit more with the cracking. So and on this particular one, I'm going to do that in just the two spots, one basically directly across from the other one. So now you can see a nice cracked area there, and that will have the difference in the color there in the finished pot. And it kind of also gives it interesting shape in this direction too, and you're looking at it from this side compared to when you're looking at it from that side. So it's one of the couple things that you can do with these slips and the Sgraffito technique of cutting into the clay so that you have the two different colors, the red and the white, working together. So you'd put a transparent glaze on this, and if it was in raku, the glaze would if it was covering all of the pot, the red area of course would be one color, the white area would be another color. And if you put it into a black crackle reduction, then you'd have big cracks all the way around, plus the change in color that you have right in here, which works with this up here. So there we go.